News West 9 at 5 starts now.
An early morning nightmare. A plane comes crashing down into a Midland neighborhood.
The pilot wasn't far from Midland Air Park when something went terribly wrong. That small plane hit a storage room and garage at one home, then flew across the alley and smashed into another house, catching it on fire.
And taking a look at these flames and damage, it's hard to believe anyone survived, but the pilot only suffered minor injuries. Several people helped pull him out of the plane, and an elderly woman was rescued from her burning home.
The crash happened around 8 this morning on the 4500 block of Casper on the northeast side of Midland. It's in the area of Casper and Trevino, not far from the old Rockhounds ballpark off La Mesa.
The pilot took off from Wharton Regional Airport outside of El Campo, Texas. He was scheduled to land at Midland Air Park, but didn't make it.
Tonight, an investigation is underway to determine how that crash happened.
Gina Martinez is live on the northeast side of Midland where the plane went down. Gina.
Hey, Crystal and David. Yeah, we're here off of Casper and Trevino in Midland. It's not too far from the loop, and right behind me is the house. This new, just in the last half hour, they've just put up this fence. Midland firefighters and PD and a few others just put up this fence to keep people out from this alley. They don't want them going anywhere near this house because it is very unstable. They also don't want people coming in here trying to mess with debris or any wreckage left from the plane. Now, again, Midland Police Department, the Fire Department, and DPS are all on scene right now, as well as Encore officials still trying to get power restored to customers out here. Now, taking you back to early this morning, this all happened around 8 o'clock, just a little bit after 8 o'clock. We're told an airplane was supposed to land at Midland Air Park this morning, but it missed the runway, obviously, and it said came through, crashing through this alley. It clipped a storage shed, then it clipped another home before crashing completely into the back of this home right here. We're told that one person was inside. It was an 81-year-old woman. She made it out okay. No injuries there. Her house is a total loss, though. And the pilot, his name is 53-year-old Paige Munn. He's a contract pilot for the company Quality Air Lease. They are the ones who own the plane that he was flying. He also got out okay. Someone pulled him out from the plane. He's at Midland Memorial Hospital right now with a broken arm, but he is expected to be okay and possibly even will get discharged later tonight. Now, that plane was coming from El Campo, Texas. It left from Wharton County Regional Airport, and that is kind of close to Victoria, that region around there. We're told, again, they were supposed to land at Midland Air Park this morning, but, again, that did not happen. They crashed into this home over here. As far as, again, the woman is okay. There's thankfully no serious injuries here, just minor ones. We were told that FAA was on the scene earlier as well. They were clearing some debris, clearing through the wreckage, and a DPS trooper just told us not too long ago that FAA will be back out here again. They're going to try and find that black box. Now, that's the piece of equipment that will let them know exactly what caused this accident. They're going to be here. They're going to be cleaning up that debris, separating debris and plane wreckage. They're going to put it all on a trailer and then take it to a hangar where they can, again, try and find that black box and whatever it was that caused this crash. Now, coming up tonight at 6, we spoke with a woman who was inside this house. We'll bring you her story and, again, all the latest details. Reporting live in Midland, Gina Martinez, News West 9.
Well, again, the pilot of that plane survived the crash. A good Samaritan helped rescue him from the plane.
Well, we caught up with a man who says he heard the pilot screaming from the aircraft. Jonathan Holguin then quickly sprang into action.
I ran outside and I seen all the smoke, and I told my mom just stay here, and I ran from my mom's house all the way to this house. And whenever I got here, I mean, the flames were all the way to the road, and I ran to the back, and I was just yelling if anybody was alive. And the pilot, he responded, and he was like, help me, help me. And when I seen him, I pulled him to the alley, and I waited back there for EMS to come pick him up.
Again, the pilot of the plane had a broken arm and was in stable condition. He's expected to be discharged from the hospital today. Of course, we'll keep you updated on that.
All right, let's hope that happens. Meanwhile, the owner of the first home that was hit by the plane is counting his lucky stars tonight.
The news that his home was struck came as a shock, but luckily he's around to talk about it. Jen Kastner has his story. Jen.
Larry Hawker was at work when the plane crashed, and luckily his wife wasn't home at that time either. When he heard the news, he raced home to find this. His garage door was damaged, his shed was destroyed, and his car was a total loss, which he described to us.
I can see is the tires are just melted and looks like it's all, what you call it, shredded metal or whatever, or mangled metal. But like I said, I'm looking at it from, 50 feet away. I hadn't got no closer than that, so.
Now, Hawker wasn't allowed into his house because crews were still working on putting out the flames. He tells me he has insurance for his house and his car, but admits replacing everything will definitely cause a few headaches. The most important loss they're still looking for, the family dog. They still can't find him. The Red Cross told me they'll help him and his family find a warm place to stay until everything gets straightened out. Live in the studio, Jen Kastner, News West 9.
Well, next-door neighbors heard the plane making some noises, then seconds later came a big boom.
They rushed out the door and couldn't believe their eyes. Aniele Ruiz joins us live to tell you what they saw. Aniele.
David and Crystal, I'm standing right in front of the homes that were damaged by today's plane crash. Now, earlier today, some of the neighbors were actually home when it happened. I spoke to these neighbors, and one neighbor told me actually that whenever this happened, his wife ran out the front door and he ran out the back, and they couldn't believe the damages. Now, the Love family tells me they could hear the pilot screaming for help. Now, when he saw the flames, his first reaction was to get buckets of water, but he just saw how big the fire was and he knew it wouldn't help. So instead, he ran to check on the pilot and to make sure everyone was out of the home. He talked to the pilot, Paige Munn, who was laying in the alley.
He was hurt. He looked dazed. He was hurt, but I think he was more concerned about making sure that, everybody was out, that everybody was safe, and that nobody was going back in there unnecessarily trying to, see if there was somebody else in the plane. So I think that was his first primary, is letting everybody know is that, hey, there's nobody else in the plane.
Well, coming up tonight on News West 9 at 6, hear more on the conversation with the pilot, and also hear why neighbors say that that they knew this was actually going to happen soon. In Midland, Aniele Ruiz, News West 9.
Live from the station that brings you more West Texas news. News West 9 at 6 starts now.
Old Man Winter isn't done with West Texas yet. Get ready for some even colder temperatures heading into tonight.
And more of the white stuff is on the way to parts of the basin. Let's send it over to Chief Meteorologist Tom Teeperteller for the very latest. Tom.
Yes, the only good news in all of this is the snow will be very light, not expecting too much more in the way of accumulations associated with it. So good news there. But as we look at the Storm Tracker 9 live Doppler this afternoon, we have a big band of blue there indicating we do have pretty good snows across eastern portions of New Mexico, and some of that drifting down across the western and southern South Plains from near Snyder up towards the Tahoka area and back up towards Clovis, a little bit closer in across the central Permian Basin around Hobbs, southern Lee County. A few snow flurries flying this afternoon, but again, we're not expecting too much in the way of accumulation, so good news there overnight tonight. Now, as we look at the maps on the winter weather alerts, we do have wind chill advisories in effect as we get in towards the overnight hours for most areas of West Texas and southeast New Mexico, as we're going to see wind chill values 0 to 15 below zero overnight tonight. Now, you get into the Davis Mountain areas and the Guadalupe Mountains, that's where we have wind chill warnings for 15 to 30 below zero wind chill values overnight tonight. So dangerously cold in those locations. Again, anytime you get 15 below zero, you're looking at about 30 minutes outside that, you're going to be dealing with some frostbite. Across portions of Eddy County in New Mexico into Culberson County in Texas, from around Carlsbad down towards Carlsbad Caverns, Queens, El Paso Gap, Guadalupe Mountains National Park, and Van Horn. We are looking at winter weather advisories for an additional 2 to 4 inch snow accumulations overnight tonight. The winds are howling in many locations, up to 26 mile an hour gusts now in Odessa, 25 mile an hour gust in Snyder and Seminole at 21 miles an hour. Over towards Guadalupe Mountains National Park, gusts up to 52 miles an hour, and you add that in with temperatures right at 10 degrees. Things are dangerously cold. 17 degrees currently on the temperatures for Odessa, Midland, 21 in Big Spring. And you add in all that wind, it's close. It's right at zero now at the Midland International Airport on the wind chill. So again, don't be outside. It's just not a safe thing to do. -2 on the wind chill in Seminole, 16 below in Guadalupe Mountains National Park on the current wind chill, and 5 degrees for Alpine and Marfa, so everybody is shivering at the present time. Again, we are going to see a couple of snowflakes every now and then, but again, not expecting any accumulations out of that. Temperatures will be down to 11 by 10 o'clock tonight, on our way to 6 on the overnight low, And those wind chill values, again, already at 0, will be dropping down below 0 all the way down to 15 below across the Permian Basin overnight tonight. So a good night to stay in by the fireplace, the heater, just stay warm out there. And it does look like the cold is not going to let up again, at least until Friday. We'll talk more about that in your Storm Tracker 9 day forecast. Is coming up in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Tom.
Howard County hit hard with snow and ice, and it caused some major headaches.
Driving around was a big challenge, especially on the interstate after big rigs slid off the road. Aniele Ruiz joins us live to tell you what they had to cope with today. Aniele?
David and Crystal, icy and snowy weather isn't really normal for West Texans, especially if they have to drive in it. Now, some residents I talked to like the temperature change, but others not so much. Oh, people in Howard County woke up to a winter wonderland this morning. Many, though, didn't have to brave the cold temperatures and icy roads, like the parents of students whose classes were canceled. But those who had to leave their homes were faced with a tough task.
We have a lot of ice on the interstate and on 87. With the temperatures the way they are, it doesn't seem to be melting off. The highway department's doing everything they can, but the conditions are still bad enough that we're having a lot of accidents right now.
The sheriff department says the roads were so bad, it was like a sheet of ice covering the highways. So much so that the cars and even 18-wheelers were sliding off the roads.
Probably 2 or 3 times this morning alone we've had to shut down either westbound or eastbound lanes until we can get the roadways cleared for travel again.
Authorities are asking everyone to be careful out in the roads like these, but they're also asking people to watch out for chunks of ice. Now, as you can see here, this is a big chunk of ice that fell off an 18-wheeler, and it probably weighs about 20 pounds, and something like this can definitely cause some big car damage.
Be careful, look for those conditions, and, that's the best advice we can give is don't get out if you don't have to, but if you do, use all the safety precautions that are required in these type of conditions and give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going.
Extra manpower on the streets by the Sheriff Department, TxDOT, and the City of Big Spring is helping keep residents safe. But it's ultimately up to the driver to practice caution.
Regardless whether you have 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, the roads are still slick. And speed's the biggest factor in a lot of the accidents that we're having right now.
I try to go pretty slow on the way here, because I have a small car, so I don't want to skid on the ice, and I don't know how to get out of that. But
well, because of the wind chill, many kids opted out of playing in the snow, and of course, it's only going to get colder. So authorities are asking everyone to bundle up and drive safely. For now, live in Midland, Aniele Ruiz, News West 9.
Over in Midland, things went pretty smoothly on the morning commute. This is Loop 250 and 191. You can see just how much snow was falling there. Drivers did a pretty good job of getting around. TxDOT crews were out there making sure the roads were in good shape.
The icy conditions did cause a few headaches out there. Take a look. Around 7 this morning, this truck was traveling on Highway 191 near 1788. The driver lost control and skidded into a bar ditch along the highway. 2 people were in the truck, but no one was hurt.
Delivering hot meals to the elderly and homebound proved to be a challenge today. Slick streets kept many Meals on Wheels drivers home. Community and Senior Services in Midland tells us they need some backup. They're asking for anyone who's comfortable driving in ice and snow and has a vehicle that can handle those conditions to give them a helping hand.
We really need some people that would be willing to do that and also be put on a permanent emergency sub-driver list. So that we can call them when we get weather like this. We've got 35 routes that we have to fill every morning, so, we need the drivers.
Meal deliveries in Midland have never been canceled because of bad weather. If you would like to volunteer, just call 689-6693.
Because of the bone-chilling temperatures, the Salvation Army is asking those who plan to stay with them tonight to get in early. They plan to lock up at 9 tonight. They're urging everyone who plans to stay with them and get a hot meal to get there as soon as possible.
As you can imagine, there are a lot of cancellations because of the wintry weather. First off, jurors picked for municipal court in Odessa will get the day off tomorrow. The court has canceled jury trials for Wednesday, February 2nd, but it's only for that day. You'll still have to show up if needed the rest of the week.
And if you were planning on heading to the Ector County Library, it's already closed. The library closed at 6 p.m. today instead of its normal time at 8:30. If you have any questions or concerns, you can contact the library at 332-0633.
The Ector County School District has a few cancellations we need to tell you about. They've called off their 911 for Parents program that was supposed to take place at Goliad Elementary tonight. It's been rescheduled for May 3rd. And Bonham's Wind Turbine Science Lab, scheduled for tomorrow, has also been canceled. There's no word yet on when that will be rescheduled. Some schools are already calling off classes because of the bitterly cold temperatures. Trinity School in Midland will be closed tomorrow, and the Fort Davis School District will get a late start at 10 a.m. Classes are canceled tonight at New Mexico Junior College and the University of Southwest in Hobbs.
Well, nasty weather didn't stop Odessa college students and staff from heading to Austin today. They're visiting for Community College Day tomorrow at the state capitol. Students at OC want state lawmakers to know that OC is backed by the community and won't go down without a fight.
We're actually taking this opportunity to speak with our representatives regarding the funding situation that OC is currently facing right now. And we're going to take advantage and try to let them see our point of view and how by doing this it will affect not just the community but students like myself and my fellow classmates, and let them see the impact it will have. So hopefully we can make a difference.
Meanwhile, Midland College canceled their plans to go because of the weather. They'll mail a petition signed by MC employees and students to Representative Tom Craddock and Senator Kel Seliger.
An Odessa man has been indicted on murder charges. Clifford Woods is accused of stabbing a man to death. Investigators say it happened during an argument at a West Odessa bar. Brian Dillon was stabbed in the neck and arm and died from his injuries. Woods remains behind bars on a $50,000 bond.
You're looking at about 1,000 pounds of pot there. Border Patrol agents made the big bust at a checkpoint in Sierra Blanca yesterday morning. A drug-sniffing dog caught wind of the drugs and alerted officers. 2 men from Arizona and the pot were turned over to the Drug Enforcement Administration. The marijuana has a street value of $820,000.
Parking at Midland Memorial Hospital should be a little easier. The first 4 levels of the hospital's new parking garage are now open. To get to that garage, you'll have to use Garfield Street. Complimentary parking is still available at both entrances to the hospital.
Here's your chance to learn more about the Odessa Fire Department. The 2011 Citizens Fire Academy will kick off on March 1st. The 2-month program will be held every Tuesday evening between 7 and 9:30. If you're interested, the deadline to submit your application is February 18th. You can get more information from the City of Odessa's website listed there on your screen.
Over in Hobbs, the Citizens Police Academy is getting ready to start. It's a chance to learn all the ins and outs of how the police department works. You'll get to ride along with officers and learn how they track down criminals. It's a 10-week program that meets 1 night per week. For more information, log on to hobbspd.com, or you can call Officer Mike Stone at 397-9381.
West Texas isn't the only place feeling the brunt of Mother Nature. Coming up, other parts of Texas that have been hit hard by Old Man Winter.
Plus, the best barbecue is not in Texas, but it will be by Super Bowl Sunday. We'll explain next on News West 9 at 6. And remember, News West 9 is now available on your iPhone. Download your free app today.
Live in HD from the station that brings you more West Texas news. News West 9 Weekend starts now.
Miles of scorched earth. Fierce flames rip through West Texas. Thousands of acres have burned. These are pictures of the massive grass fires that ripped through the basin this weekend.
It's dealt a devastating blow to farmers, ranchers, and families who tonight don't have a home to return to. Fire crews have worked nonstop to put out the flames. This evening, hot spots continue to flare up, but in one town, the fire is still out of control. Fort Davis is still a war zone tonight for fire crews. That blaze is not anywhere near contained.
Around 9 this morning, some people who were evacuated were allowed to go home. You can probably imagine that sick feeling in the pit of their stomachs, wondering if they had anything left to return to. Victor Lopez shows you what they were met with.
We're scared to go back and see what has happened and what's gone.
The Balmorhea High School gym turned into a shelter for evacuated Fort Davis residents after a major wildfire sparked west of Marfa and made its way toward and into the town.
We have a lot of resources, including 5 of the 7 heavy tankers that are available in the United States. This fire is priority 1, not only in Texas, but in the United States right now.
The resources include the U.S. and Texas Forest Service, Border Patrol, Department of Public Safety, as well as local and area fire departments. Their #1 objective is life safety.
We're still in incident response. This is initial attack still, no containment on these fires, and the weather conditions, I hate the term, but are in the fire's favor.
For Fort Davis residents that evacuated Saturday night, the uncertainty of what waited for them Sunday morning was more than they could bear.
To get my grandkids and my daughter out of harm's way. And I kept going back to see what I could see because I wanted to see, but I finally left. And now we're just scared what we're going to go see.
Members of the junior high track team hadn't been home or seen family for over 24 hours.
I was afraid that my house might burn down or something.
That everything's okay and everybody's all right.
For the coaches, they knew where their responsibility lay.
To take care of the kids. The safety of the kids.
There is an estimated 40 to 50 structures damaged or destroyed, little running water in town, and no hope of electricity for some for at least 1 week. Fort Davis schools will be closed on Monday. Superintendent Larry Butler says after that, they'll just take it one day at a time.
When people lose their homes and all their belongings, it's rather difficult, but to be thankful that they have their lives. We will rebuild, regroup, and the good Lord willing, we'll get back to where we were.
The Texas Forest Service is still on the scene in Jeff Davis County, monitoring those flare-ups that occurred earlier this morning. They recommend that if you find yourself in the path of oncoming fire, get out immediately. They also ask that you stay off the roadways as much as possible to give fire crews a chance to get to where they need to get quickly. Reporting in the studio, Victor Lopez, News West 9.
The fire in Fort Davis has been made a national priority, and FEMA is on the way. That massive blaze has been dubbed the Rock House Fire. It has consumed 60,000 acres, and tonight it is not contained. Around 60 structures, including many homes, have been burned to the ground. Late today, a generator was brought in from South Texas. It is now powering some buildings in downtown Fort Davis. Right now, 800 customers are still without electricity. We're told around 60 workers are trying to connect as many people to the generator as they can. However, power has been restored in Valentine. Again, school has been canceled in Fort Davis for tomorrow.
Also burning tonight, 2 fires 8 miles northeast of Alpine. The Brewster County Sheriff tells us crews are working to create a fire break that would prevent the fire from moving towards Alpine if the winds change direction. One of the fires is burning on the Sears Ranch, and neither is contained. Because of those fires, several highways have been shut down. Highway 17 remains closed at this hour between Fort Davis and Balmorhea. Highway 6790 at the split east of Alpine is no longer open, and Highway 118 between Alpine and Fort Davis has been shut down. Officials are asking drivers to avoid that area if at all possible. Now, the winds have picked up again this evening as a cold front makes its way through the basin. Fire crews are on high alert right now. We've seen a few flare-ups in Midland and Odessa, but so far, crews have kept the flames under control. Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller is tracking those wind gusts for us. Tom, what are we seeing right now?
Well, actually, we are seeing the winds calming down just a hint, but they're still gusty around 20 to 25 miles an hour. As we look at the Storm Tracker 9 live Doppler again, we are seeing that we do have those thunderstorms popping up ahead of the front, unfortunately not affecting Midland, Odessa, but areas from Colorado City down across portions of Glasscock County around Garden City, north of Rankin and McCamey, down towards Ira and Sheffield, and areas east being affected by those thunderstorms. But unfortunately, as we put the Doppler radar in the motion, the bulk of the rain has been well off to the east, and it's going to stay that way for the time being. Again, we want to look at the visible view of the satellite picture. Again, not much going on in the way of smoke plumes. The red flag warnings we had a little earlier expired at 10 o'clock tonight, Central Time, 9 o'clock Mountain Time, but burn bans do remain in place across a large part of West Texas and southeast of Mexico. The winds, sustained winds, are now coming around to the west to northwest at about 24 to 25 miles an hour right across the Permian Basin 25-mile-an-hour winds sustained around Fort Stockton, too, and you add in those gusts. We are seeing those up around 33 to 36 miles an hour for Midland, Odessa, 37-mile-an-hour gusts in Fort Stockton. They're much stronger out towards Guadalupe Pass at 55 miles an hour. Humidity levels, though, starting to come back up above 15% now at 18% for Midland, Odessa, 21% for Pecos Wink, and 20% for Fort Stockton. So we are seeing some improvement in that department across the West Texas area. Again, looking at the fire detection satellite a little earlier, you can see the fire scars associated with that large fire there ongoing across portions of Jeff Davis County, where it started just west of Marfa, continue on up towards the Fort Davis area and continues to burn north and east of Fort Davis. Also a good look at the fire scar there around U.S. Highway 67 and 90 associated with that fire across portions of the northern Brewster County area. Temperatures a little cooler behind the front now, 68 in Odessa, 69 in Midland, and we're expecting those winds to stay gusty but come around to the north overnight tonight as temperatures are very cold, down to 38 degrees. A big improvement in the fire weather conditions tomorrow, but then a big change after that, and we'll talk about that in your Storm Tracker 9 day forecast here in just a couple of minutes.
All right, thank you, Tom. Turning now to Midland County, where a huge grass fire charred more than 16,000 acres. Tonight, firefighters have the blaze contained, but they're still keeping an eye on hot spots. Those flames destroyed everything in their path, including a number of homes. Tonight, Gina Martinez talks to one family who almost lost everything. The flames literally stopped at their back door. Gina.
A piece of melted chrome. This used to be a part of a car. Just gives you an idea of exactly how hot everything was yesterday when that fire was ripping through the town. We're told that dozens of homes were destroyed in yesterday's blaze, and even many more were affected by the fire. Today we spoke with one family whose house off of County Road 1213 was also affected, but this family was luckier than others.
I've lived here in Midland my whole life, so I've never seen anything like this.
There's nothing but black soot on the ground, and smoke still fills the air, both reminders of the huge grass fire that engulfed thousands of acres of land across Midland County yesterday.
He could see the flames. They were about 8 feet tall. The smoke was so bad he couldn't breathe anymore, so he left. So I told my husband, I said, get a picture of your mother, get a picture of my mother, because they're both gone. I said, that's the only thing we can't replace.
Today, after being forced to flee, Donna Lewis and her family returned to their home after a chaotic day and sleepless night.
It comes so close, and it was just a blessing from God that it didn't burn our house.
The fire swept through their land and car shop, but stopped just feet from their back door.
I was just amazed at how it missed some things and it got some things.
Things like this car. The fire burned almost every vehicle, but left this one untouched. The two family pigs also survived in their pen while the blaze burned everything around them. Lewis says their home has smoke damage and they won't be able to stay there for a while.
We have no power lines, and so therefore we have water wells, and if we don't have electricity, we don't have water.
The family did have insurance, and they plan on staying with their sons until everything is taken care of. Lewis says it's a miracle their house didn't go up in flames, but others weren't so lucky.
We took the food that we had and give it to people that didn't have food. We got to bless them with that, so it makes me feel very blessed, and it makes me feel good in my heart that we're able to do that.
And despite the aftermath for some families, Lewis hopes they can see some good after a very bad situation.
Everything else is just material stuff, and we can replace it. Thank God nobody was hurt.
Lewis says lightning struck in the same spot for one family down the road from her. She told us this is the second time that family lost their home to a fire, so obviously very lucky for some families and truly tragic for others. In the studio, Gina Martinez, News West 9.
Well, tonight, crews in Midland remain on standby. They're keeping a close watch on any little spark that may reignite. The big blaze, called the Hickman Fire, that sparked yesterday was contained early this morning. The 500 people who were evacuated were allowed to return home today. The grass fire charred 16,500 acres and burned 40 structures, some homes. Power lines and power poles remain down in that area. Now, a lot of you have been writing in on our News West 9 Facebook page wanting to know how you can help out the victims of the fires. Kristen Lowe joins us now with those details. Kristen.
Crystal, the biggest thing relief organizations tell us they need is bottled drinks and packaged food. Donations are being collected for Jeff Davis and Brewster counties. You can bring the bottled water and food to the fire stations in Alpine and Marfa. You can also donate bottled drinks by bringing them to the Brewster County Jail. These items will help the firefighters on the front lines. And in Midland County, the Red Cross is collecting packaged food and drinks at the Shap Center. That's on the 3600 block of North Garfield at Midland College. Now, homemade goods are not being accepted at this time. We spoke with the Red Cross in Midland today, who said they're confident in the generosity of the community.
It has just devastated this entire community, but we're confident that people in the Permian Basin, people here in Midland, rally behind the American Red Cross and our efforts to provide disaster relief.
A lot of you have been asking about donating your time and volunteering. As for the Red Cross, they say you have to be trained first. If you're interested in becoming one of the volunteers, just contact them at 563-2267. I'm sorry. That's 563-2267. In the studio, Kristen Lowe, News West 9.
A stubborn wildfire burning in Sanderson is almost contained tonight. You'll remember at one point crews had the fire 75% contained, and then it grew again. This fire started Thursday 50 miles southeast of Fort Stockton near the Terrell and Pecos County lines. So far, it's burned more than 3,500 acres. The Texas Forest Service says again that it's almost contained.
Robbery at a gas station in Midland this evening. It happened at the Stripes on Midland Drive and Andrews Highway just before 1 o'clock. We're told the manager was leaving the store to make a deposit when a man pushed her into a car. They ended up driving south on Cotton Flat Road. That's when the suspect got out of the car and started running with the manager's money bag.
A Cameron elementary school teacher who's been on paid leave since March 24th may be given his walking papers this week. The ECISD Board of Trustees will vote on the non-renewal of James Johnston's contract on Wednesday. Johnston was put on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. School officials are not saying what Johnston is accused of. The government avoided a shutdown, but they're still dealing with a huge deficit. Why Republicans are trying to raise the debt ceiling and what happens if the U.S. can't pay its bills. That's next.
And as we head into the break, here's a look at some of the pictures sent to us by our News West 9 viewers and Facebook friends of those devastating grass fires in West Texas. Again, you can always log on to newswest9.com or our Facebook page to get the very latest updates and information on these grass fires. An off-duty federal officer was involved in a shootout in Maryland. Police say that off-duty officer's neighbor ran to his home after someone broke in. The off-duty officer ran next door. That officer exchanged gunfire with the suspect, but the suspect got away.
A flower girl was killed on the way to a wedding in North Carolina. Police say the driver of an SUV slammed into the car carrying the girl and two bridesmaids. It happened outside Greenville. 6-year-old Ava Kendall, seen here in family photos, was killed. The bride-to-be called off the wedding after learning about the accident. The driver who caused that wreck could soon face charges.
Finally, we're getting a break for those awful West Texas winds, and hopefully that's giving firefighters a bit of a break to get a handle on that big blaze in Jeff Davis County.
That's right, but as Tom's been telling us today, it looks like those fire conditions are coming back. Let's send it over to him for a look. Tom.
Yes, it does look like, unfortunately, the critical fire danger is coming back into our forecast after we saw a weekend where close to 140,000 acres associated with 3 fires in West Texas burned. Unfortunately, that's going to be added to, I think, as we headed towards the next few days, thanks to this critical fire danger moving in. Today, a break, 75 on the afternoon high, a peak wind gust of 36 miles an hour, so we still saw even an elevated fire danger today, but it does look like we are going to see very little, if any, rain in our forecast anytime soon. We'll talk more about that, get you updated on the fire weather situation and the Storm Tracker 9-day forecast up next.